Hi everyone. Today we did get a slightly higher low here. You can see the setup, low, higher low. We got a little bit of a trend structure. Got some topping patterns here. We're going to see if we can hold this structure and push, maybe up to that 509 area. Either way, markets looked a little bit more bullish today than they have over the past several days. We'll see how it plays out. Let's take a look at all of the charts and see if we can find some direction for tomorrow. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So in news today, we did get a 1 month pause for automakers on the tariffs. You can see it was announced here, 1 month, waiving that 25% tariff for Mexico and Canada. We'll see if this one holds or not. This is coming from Ford, GM, and Stellantis. It seems like they did not want to start this quite yet, but we still have reciprocal tariffs going in on April 2nd, so we'll see if that one goes all the way through. Seems like these are becoming more real by the day, but another exception for the automakers, which did lighten the load, and this is potentially what allowed markets to hold up a little bit better today. Maybe some hope that we could see this used as just a negotiating tool versus an actual implementation that could weaken economies and markets. Moving over to fear and greed, we finished at a 19 yesterday. I think it was actually a 20, but right in there, 19 or 20, and we're up a little bit today. Makes sense. Markets bounced slightly, not a lot, but a little. All of the major metrics here still in extreme fear. Breadth continues to worsen. Put call ratio still extreme fear. Went a little bit higher today to 0.83, and then you can see safe haven demand continuing to go lower there. Junk bonds still doing really, really well relative to corporate. So everything except for junk bonds, fear, and volatility actually sitting in regular fear. So that pulled back slightly here today as well. Moving over to the economic calendar, you can see the ADP non-farms came in way lower than expectations at a 77K versus 141K. Previous number was revised up just 3,000, but this is not a good number here. I would expect unemployment numbers to go up a little bit, JOLTS report and actual non-farms to go down relative to expectations, but you can see economy-wise, still doing okay. This was expected to be below the 50 line, but it was above it. Non-manufacturing PMI, non-manufacturing prices continuing to do well. Prices being that hot is not great relative to the actual improvement on sales there, but we'll see. And then looking at Thursday, initial jobless claims, this was super hot last time at 242. Want to see that come in a little bit less, closer to expectations. If these jobs data's numbers continue to come in a little bit weak, that's going to be interesting for markets, and it seems like they're starting to soften a little bit more. So we'll see as we get closer to that Friday economic data with the non-farms and the unemployment rate. Moving over to the SPY charts here, you can see it was actually up quite a bit, about 1% here today, which was pretty much where we were after hours yesterday. You can see this rally up into that 581 area. We finished around 582 after hours, closer to 582.90 during the session. So pretty close, not a whole lot of movement from the after hours when we got that news of the tariffs being potentially truncated. You can see it here on the hourly, low, slightly higher low, tag that level, and then bounced pretty dramatically, cut through the level here, didn't quite hit the 585 level yet, but I would say that's in play. You still got the 55 EMA there, of course, at 584.58. And then looking at that daily chart, really no change from the previous day. We're in the same consolidation range, back into these consolidation lows here from December. We did eclipse those just briefly, but on a closing basis, we were still above the lows from that 13 January candle. And now we're back into this zone here. We'll see if it can hold back above the 144. That's interesting. I'm still looking for a touch of that 200, but the step towards bullish momentum, maybe this is a short-term bottom. I was a little premature in here. Now it seems like we found a little bit of a base. This Friday candle was definitely interesting the previous week, and we engulfed all of that to go lower. Is this finally the bounce? It hasn't been yet, but it does have some potential with that low, higher low setup. And then looking at those tasty charts here on the hourly, you can see the ATR trailing stop. That was our upper target if we did get the rally through. That was at 583.71. Touched that level and rejected. So far, we have not closed above it. So we're still in bearish conditions here, but we're still looking potentially bullish after being above all those short-term EMAs. So mixed signals, not a ton of volume here today, but you did see some rallies right here waiting to see if we can get above it and hold on a closing basis, and then maybe get some rallies through to that 144 EMA. That is sitting all the way up there at 589.61. That was our previous resistance. So if you do get the push through, that's about another 1% to that level. And then that's where we rejected here last time, pushing to that low and then lower low. So right now, seems like mixed signals with the low, higher, low. Are we going to reject from here and get the high, lower, high? Certainly a possibility. Moving over to the NASDAQ, similar thesis, up about 1%, a little bit more, 1.3%. You can see it went right to the level, 503.52. That was the level if 498 broke, which it did, closed above that level. Pushed right to the next one, rejected from there. It's down a smidgen after hours. We'll see if it can hold in this structure tomorrow. Momentum stepping to bullish. We have not seen that on the NASDAQ. We didn't get that head fake that we saw on the SPY charts, but we'll see. Is this finally the bottom here at that 200? Get a little bit of a retracement, continuation higher, start to fill some of this gap here between the candles and those EMAs. We're obviously super oversold. We've been talking about that. And now you can see here on the hourly chart, that low, higher low setup actually looks more like a high, slightly higher high there as well on a closing basis. Obviously, the medium term structure is still high, lower high, but in that very short term, seems like we could get a play. Want to see that 21 hold, selling just a smidgen after hours. That's interesting, but 498, want to see that hold. Maybe we come back to the trend here, 496, get another higher low, get a push here, which could start to give you that kind of ascending triangle potential setup here to those upper levels. 144 EMA sitting at 511.42, my level in here 509.74, and then 514 behind it. Want to see this push to that zone. If it goes from here, that would give you about another 2% higher. If it retraces to the trend, that's about another 3% higher. So that'd be a 1% down move and then a 3% potential up move. Moving over to the Tasty charts here, you can see that low, higher low setup on the hourly. We did take out the trailing stop. That was sitting at 501.97. We did close above that on the 2 o'clock candle, immediately gave it back. That was right on the level we were talking about. Couldn't get above that 89 EMA either, but the NASDAQ structurally looks a little bit better. With that bullish condition, your trailing stop right now, 492.20, just below this low from today's session. If we can hold that low and continue, that might give you a little bit of bullishness. We have seen this before. You can see it back here. Bullish condition, held it for a little bit, immediately broke down to a lower low, lower low. But for now, you have a low, higher low with a high, slightly higher high, waiting to see if we start to get a bit of a structure change. Like I said, it wouldn't shock me to see a little bit of a gap fill of those EMAs that we talked about on the daily chart. We're definitely extended to the downside. A little bit of a counter trend rally, but ultimately I still feel like we're going lower. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, similar thesis. The Russell up about 1%. The level is 208.22. We did close above it just barely after hours. We're holding above it just barely. Came back, touched 205.07 after the gap up. Touched the level, found the rally. Honestly, good trading there. I wasn't watching the Russell because I wasn't really expecting too much of a move today, but we ended up getting it. Nice little retracement. Are we going to push back to the trend here to 11 to 12, somewhere in here? 9 EMA sitting there, 212.83. Looking to see if we can get there, but again, ultimately, still expecting this to kind of continue structurally lower, but I could see this being a low, lower low here. Then you get the high, lower high somewhere in here, 211 to 218 potentially. And then looking at the Dow, similar thesis, bounced off of that 426.20 level. Momentum still bearish, but stepped slightly to bullish. RSI still well below the SMA. Again, not as extended, structurally a little bit different, obviously, with this low, slightly higher low here still, with this high double top in here. Waiting to see what happens on the Dow. The Dow was held up really, really well, not as influenced by those tech stocks. Moving over to the Mag 7 here. The Mag 7 had a good day, 2.17% coming off of that 200 SMA, touched the 200, bounced from there. We're back above the 144. We're right at the level 296.73. Want to see it push through there to the trend, 303, maybe the level 305.25. RSI pushing towards the SMA, not as much volume today as the previous couple days, but for now, 200 in play, finding a little bit of a bounce. Want to see it get above those levels. If we can get the push through here like we talked about, then you're looking for at least a retest of these kind of consolidation lows that could take you to the 310, 311 area. That would be interesting. 21 EMA kind of trends into that zone. Get the lower high setup, continuation lower. Certainly a possibility as well. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple has really outperformed quite a lot here. You can see it didn't do so well today, being down 0.08 when everything was slightly positive. But look at this candle, pushed all the way back to the 230 level. That was the target to the downside after the level broke yesterday. Touched the level, found a really strong retracement, and finished almost unchanged on the day. So that's twice now we've touched that level. Absolutely buyers coming in at that 230.28 level. And then looking at Microsoft here, super strong reversal candle, 3.19% to the upside. Looking for that 21 EMA at 405.33. If you were following my rules, you probably bought some here at that 394.22 level. You're in good position so far. I would say first target, 21 EMA. If you can push through there, maybe look for 413. But honestly, probably going to hit that 21 EMA, and then we'll see what happens from there. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA, these really did not do a whole lot today. Tesla was up 2.6%, pushing back towards 280 after touching 264 yesterday. We'll see if we can get above it or not. Really in the same zone we've been in from yesterday's candle. And then you can see NVIDIA relatively unchanged today, 1.13%, got back above the level. So that's interesting. You could trade off of that level. We're holding above it slightly now after hours. 116.70 is my level. We closed above it. So far, that means if we hold the level, you're looking for a push to the trend, maybe the next level, 214.69. We'll see if it can go. Momentum stepping to bullish. RSI has a little bit of room. I kind of like this here. I kind of like it as a potential low, lower low, looking for the high, lower high setup in here. Moving over to Amazon and Alphabet, you can see these did well as well, 2.24 and 1.38%. Alphabet's really been underperforming. This is one of the cheapest of the Mag 7 on a PE basis, but just cannot find the love. There's something with Alphabet that just does not allow it to perform as strongly as the others. Momentum stepping to bullish, RSI breaking out above the SMAs. Structurally, these are finding a base. We're looking for that counter trend rally, and both of these still fit that same thesis. Moving over to Staples and Discretionary, Staples held up 0.4, but look at Discretionaries, 1.5% back above the level 210.43. Looking to see if we can get back to the 9, maybe the 21 in there. Again, your stop is going to be that 210.43 level. But we're above it right now. Seems like we can find a little bit of strength. You got Discretionaries outperforming here for a day. Again, does that mean everything's going to change? No, not necessarily in the medium term, but short term, it seems like markets have found a little bit of strength. Moving over to RIOT and Mara. We haven't talked about these in a while because they have looked terrible along with the rest of markets, but look at them now. Finding a little bit of strength, 5.5% and 8.23%. Mara touched the level here, 12.53, broke it on the 25th, retested it at the 26th, got back above it on the 27th, and since then we've had a nice little rally right to that 21 EMA. Is this a base? Technically it's below these lows here. We haven't been this low since back in November of 23, so again, the trend is still down, but you found a solid base, solid stop there at 12.53. Can this push back into this zone here around 18.20? Certainly a possibility. Same here for RIOT. The level is 878. You can see we tagged that level back here November of 24, held this consolidation low through June of 24 as well. So right now we're right in the zone, got back above it here today. Is it going to push potentially to the 10, 11 area? Certainly a possibility. Either way, you got a pretty tight stop there with a pretty good risk reward up to the 10 area. Certainly looks like this can go quite a bit more. It certainly was oversold. You can also see here on the RSI, low, higher low structure with very similar price action. So divergence on the RSI, showing a little bit of strength here on the miners. Moving over to breadth. Breadth actually held up a little bit. I wonder why the fear and greed index was not showing this a little bit. I guess that focuses more on the 200-day breadth, which potentially went down, but 20-day and 50-day actually caught a bounce today. Momentum on the 50-day not going with it. The 40 level was your support. That's where we said we were going after this candle. We did go there. We did get that continuation, but nice little bounce. We'll see if it can hold up here. 20-day right back to the lows from the 12 February candle. We're still kind of below that consolidation. I would like to see this go at least one more day before we say this is going to have a more aggressive retracement. But overall, this held up really well considering what yesterday's candle looked like. Moving over to the dollar does not care at all, just continues to sell super aggressive. What a candle. Pretty rare to see the dollar go down over 1% or go in any direction over 1% in one day, but look at it there, down 1.19% in one day. Huge sell, oversold conditions, pushed right through that 105.5 level. So again, if you're following my rules, You would have sold here at 105, taken profit at the 104 level. Really, really clean trade for the dollar if you were looking for it. Pushed right through that 200. Now we're below the 104.4 level. The trend support is here at 103.9. We'll see if it can hold in there. It's super oversold, but 3 really strong candles in a row, almost 1% on those first 2, and then over 1% here on that third candle. 3% in 3 days, huge selling on the dollar after a super aggressive rally here from September all the way to the tops here in January of this year. Moving over to bonds, you can see bonds held up okay. J&K was slightly positive. TLT continues this kind of retracement towards that 21 EMA at the 89.81 area, maybe the next level 89.16 potentially in play. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. I would be patient here on bonds. I started to nibble a little bit, not a lot, very little coming off of this high. I still think structurally we're going to hold here. Certainly don't think we're going back below this low here. I think the low is in. Is this a left shoulder, head, right shoulder? Seems like that's potentially in play. So could take us back to the 89 EMA as low as the 88.50 area. That would be interesting. But either way, structurally, I think this is a bull reversal pattern. It's just taken a little while to play out because this is the daily chart. Again, I still like bonds in this zone, and they're a little cheaper here today than they were over the last 3 days. Moving over to the VIX, makes sense that this pulled back. We said the trend lines were the resistance. We hit those trend lines yesterday, sold off from there, momentum selling, RSI selling. I think this probably has a little bit more to go to the downside, at least into this trend here, potentially around 1950. I don't think we're going to fall all the way to here. Certainly could, but for now, I think we're going to come to this trend line area around 1950 to the 20 level or so, and then we'll probably get another push. Again, still expecting more selling to come, but for now, it seems like we're getting a counter trend rally. Moving over to my accounts, I did get head faked on that dip low. I thought we were going to break that level and continue lower to a lower low, but I did get stopped out of those calls, and then I sold puts, so I followed my rules, and I was able to recoup those losses and then managed to turn a small profit on the day. So like to see that overall good. Realistically, I would have taken these off, but I wasn't paying attention at the end of the session, and you can see we've fallen about $1 after hours. Either way, I'm all the way down at 491 and 492, so much lower than current price. I don't think we're going to go anywhere near that tomorrow. I expect a slightly higher push, maybe as high as that 511 area tomorrow. If we start to see some levels break that 503 area, then I can get a little bit more bullish. But again, remembering that I still expect this to sell over the medium term. I don't think we're getting a full kind of trend change by any means, but in the short term, I think we're going to get at least a little bit more bullishness off of that low, higher low setup. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of the exceptions for autos. Is that going to stick for 30 days? Is it going to be re-implemented after that? Or is it just another thing that could get continued to push down the road? What do you think of markets? Is this a bounce or is this a head fake before we go lower? Let me know as well. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.